Now, there's two policy experts, J.C. Hendrickson of the International Rescue Committee and Julia Gelatt of the Migration Policy Institute, and they told Newsweek that trying to resettle 100,000 Ukrainians into the United States could take up to 2 years. So it's not going to happen overnight. The analysts say the United States faces a major visa backlog and that refugee resettlement programs have depleted staff dealing with lengthy resettlement processing procedures. All of these backlogs, and I've done TikTok videos on this, and people are arguing with me on TikTok.
Really?
Yeah, all these backlogs, you know, including what they're talking about here, that they don't even have the personnel and the infrastructure to absorb 100,000 people. It's three. You know, everyone goes, "Why is it so long these days?" And the reason why it's so long is three things. One, Trump decimated immigration. Okay, he cut State Department staff back by 70%. He did not fund any State Department, USCIS, Department of Homeland Security agencies. He fired lots and lots of people. He put in regulations that made it cumbersome to process a case. So they put in a lot of regulations that extended the processing of cases to make them go longer. And he did it all on purpose to slow down the immigration process. Now, while that was happening, COVID happened. Now COVID happens, guess what? Everybody's working from home. Is the government prepared to work from home? Absolutely not. That slowed everything down too. Right. And then you want to know what happened when we were told to come back to work? We had the Great Resignation. More people quit their jobs than at any time in the history of the United States.
Wow.
People said, you know what? I got used to working from home, or now that I'm home and I had a lot more thought, I want to do something else with my life. There was all sorts of combinations of why people quit their jobs.
Right.
And you want to know what? They also quit government jobs. All right, it wasn't just private sector jobs, public sector jobs as well. People work consular officers at the U.S. Embassy, USCIS officers, immigration judges, everybody.
Wow.
Some people were scared to go back because they didn't want to get COVID. So there's all sorts of reasons. There was a huge Great Resignation that left a lot of applications that needed to be filed that couldn't. And now you have President Biden saying he wants 100,000 Ukrainians. They don't have the resources to do it. They don't even have the resources to process the existing cases. Like, I'll give you an example. Under former President Trump, the refugee ceiling dropped each year. He did it on purpose. Before Trump took office, 85,000 refugees were allowed into the United States annually. In Trump's last year, he cut refugees to 18,000 people.
Jeez.
Now, in a bipartisan letter to President Biden, led by Congressman David Cicilline, and featuring 61 other signatures, both Republicans and Democrats, bipartisan, they emphasized that Ukrainian refugees are being housed in temporary shelters as Europe struggles to accommodate more than 4 million people who fled the war-torn homeland. Congressman Cicilline says America's refugee system has stood as the crown jewel of humanitarian work, but he said that less than 15,000 refugees ultimately admitted into the United States during the last year of the Trump administration, a time when the pandemic exacerbated humanitarian crisis around the world, was embarrassingly small. If you say, on the Statue of Liberty, give us your poor, your weak, your huddled masses, people escaping war, people escaping famine, people escaping climate changes, people escaping dangerous countries, people escaping for their life because of rape and countries that are unable to provide even basic security, all trying to escape. And America is supposed to be this beacon of, we will accept you. We will take you. 18,000 people. 18,000 people.
Wow.
So that's why.
From
that's why.
85,000.
And so how if you cut it down to 18,000 people, you know what happens when you cut it down to 18,000 people? Hey Joe, you have no work to do. You're fired because people didn't have any work. So they cut the staff. Now you got to go back and hire all these people. You got to train people. You got to. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
That's why there's these huge backlogs.
Yeah.
Now, my opinion, the only way to do this is they have something called parole in place. So if you are parole, period. So if you are a Ukrainian or you have family that's in Ukraine, they have existing programs. It's called parole. And they are giving parole to people on a case-by-case basis to enter the United States. It doesn't give a Ukrainian a green card. It's not for life. It does give you work permission. It does allow you to live here on a temporary basis. That application is made at a U.S. embassy in a third country. And then eventually they'll probably extend the temporary protected status to those who are able to make it, because there's no way in the world that they're going to be able to get 100,000 Ukrainians into the United States in any reasonable amount of time. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.